Check out the price of gold at 3,200 and today giving about a 0.5% back, but just been on an endless climb this year. But Goldman just raised its year-end forecast to 3,700 an ounce from 3,000, with a projected range of 3,650 to 3,950. And the note said gold could potentially hit 4,500 by year-end in an extreme risk scenario.
Welcome back. I'm Jeremy Safran. Well, gold has just made history yet again. Spot prices surged past $3,250 an ounce this week, setting a new all-time high and marking the metal's strongest weekly gain since back in 2020. Now, the rally has stunned markets, vaulting gold nearly $600 year to date and signaling what many now believe is a systemic and seismic shift in global capital flows. And at the same time, the U.S.-China trade war is spiraling. President Donald Trump's 145% tariffs on Chinese imports triggered full retaliation from Beijing, which has now raised its own duties to 125% and accused the U.S. of economic coercion.
What's happening and what I've been telling people was happening all last year as the price of gold went from 2,000 to 3,000 and nobody cared and nobody was buying it because everybody was, sidetracked by Bitcoin and all the talk about digital gold. Nobody but foreign central banks were buying actual gold. And the reason they're buying gold is because they're getting rid of their dollars. They are preparing for a world where the dollar is no longer the center of the monetary system, where it's no longer the reserve currency. I've been telling people to buy gold, for over 20 years. When I first started recommending physical gold to my clients, it was under $300 an ounce. It's gone up more than tenfold. In fact, gold has outperformed the stock market for the last 25 years dramatically. I think the S&P is down maybe 65% priced in gold. So the whole bull market is an illusion created by inflation. Gold lets you see economic reality.
China has been rumored to be laying the foundation for the next world gold standard system. This was written back in 2016. So they appear to be laying the foundation to bring the world back to the gold standard, like it used to be. For those that don't understand, President Richard Nixon, 1971, cut the ties to the gold standard. So they're saying bring it back to that. Now we can see that China has been buying more and more gold as the trade war drags on. Now this is 2019. Trade war drags on 2019. Why is that? Well, in Trump's first term is when the tariffs really started. That's when this trade war started between the U.S. and China, two dominant superpowers. And so this has been going on for a long time. They've been buying more and more gold as this trade war drags on. Now, how much gold do they have? Well, we can see that, number one, we don't really know. But let's do a little bit of math. We know that the U.S. gold holdings, officially the record shows, which, by the way, I don't know if it's been audited, shows the U.S. owns about 8,133 tons of gold in Fort Knox. We want to see that audited. But China's officially declared holdings, this is where it gets sticky, officially holdings is 1,948 tons, make up just 3% of its 3.2 trillion in foreign exchange holdings. But the real number is much larger than that. China's been the world's largest gold producer since 2007, the largest producer. This past decade, it has produced about 15% of all the gold miners in the world. Last year, it produced 380 tons. That's 20% more than the world's second largest producer, which is Australia. So not only is it the largest producer, but it's also one of the largest buyers. But I want you to understand what its policy was. It's key for understanding this. We can see that China roughly mined about 6,500 tons. Mined 6,500 tons. Now, the key behind this is that the gold it mines, it keeps. Exporting of domestic mine production is not allowed. So basically, China says, hey, come mine as much gold as you want in China, but you have to sell it to us. You can't export that gold. So all of this being produced in China is being bought by China. Chinese mining companies have also been buying assets abroad. So not only have they been mining in China, selling to China, but they've also been buying assets abroad, Africa, South America, Asia, etc. The world's biggest producer. China is the world's biggest importer. So not only are they the largest producer, and they buy it all, they're also the biggest buyer at the same time. Over 6,000 tons has entered the country since 2000. of that cumulative gold production since 2000, you get to a figure of about 13,200 tons. This is like back of the napkin math. A lot of it's like hidden. We'll skip ahead here. We can see that a lot of it doesn't go through the main channels. Since 2008, roughly 20,000 tons have been withdrawn from the Shanghai Gold Exchange. So if we add all this up, the rumors are that China could own somewhere between 20 to 30,000 tons of gold. China's hoarding gold to challenge the US dollar. Again, this has been going on for a long time. This is 2014. So we have the two big dogs come into the table, and the US now is trying to force not just tariffs on them, not just trade tariffs, but this is a monetary shift, a monetary restructuring. Now, rumors also are that maybe China is paving the way for a gold-backed yuan. And so they might actually want to back their currency with gold, which then means they sort of in the dollar dominance. Other nations would rather buy a gold-backed currency like a Chinese yuan.
We do have this phenomenon, as we touched on, where we have gold hitting new all-time highs, both in futures markets and in spot gold.
Yeah, the dollar's lost 99% of its value.
This is what will lead to the reset.
Your purchasing power is being eroded literally by the day. Is my money safe? It's sitting in the bank.
What does gold mean for you? Why do you like it as an investment?
Certainly the gold price is 100 times what it was in 1933. So there's a reason why they're buying the gold. The Western currencies might get into a problem and have to be reset. And if you have a lot of gold, you'll be calling the shots.
But that's how a new system is ushered in.
People are saying, I'm not putting any more money into real estate. The stock market, I don't trust it anymore. Where can I put my savings? The answer to that would be the central banks in 2022 and 2023 bought something like 50 or 60% more gold than they had bought in any of the previous 10 years. So they're stepping up their game in terms of buying gold. And there's a reason why they're buying the gold, because they see that there is a risk that the currencies, the Western currencies, might come and get into a problem and have to be reset. And if you have a lot of gold, you'll be calling the shots, or at least sitting at the table. And the biggest buyer is, of course, the Chinese central bank. Their gold purchases last year were at an all-time record in 2023. It was more than ever before.
And that's what we know of, Clive, because I always say with the recording of the central bank gold purchases, we're just taking the country's word for it.
Yeah, there's
no actual audit.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of supposition that maybe they're buying gold secretly and not telling us. There is a slight disconnect between the amount of gold that China says it's been buying and the amount of gold which has been exported to China. I haven't got the numbers in front of me, but I can tell you a lot more gold went into China than was bought by the central bank.
Well, and Clive, and all the gold that China mines stays in China.
True.
When did you decide to be the gold buyer guy? Like, when did you decide to, not just think about it and study it and look into the collapse of the dollar? When did you decide, hey, you know what? I'm actually going to start buying gold?
Because as you know, every time they print money, the rich get richer, but the poor and middle class get poorer. So we're printing $1 trillion every 90 days now. So those who own real assets like Wagyu cattle, gold, silver, real estate, oil, we get richer. But what else goes up in price is food, like chicken and eggs. You can't afford eggs today. So every time you print fake money, which is what I saw back when I was 17 years old, when you print fake money, guys like us get richer, but my friends and family get poorer because no financial education in school.
Now, let's drill down into that for a second. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, the BRICS nations for 16, almost 17 years, they've been hoarding the Earth's gold. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. These countries are not screwing around. They've been hoarding the Earth's gold in preparation to do what? Well, Putin has announced a great expansion of the BRICS bloc. And now you have, I'm just giving a rough average here, but now you have the majority of the Earth's assets are controlled by these nations that identify with the BRICS bloc. And these countries have a stated goal of introducing a gold-backed programmable currency. I don't think the average person knows that, and I don't think the average person knows that the United States enjoys an incredible privilege as the world's reserve currency since the Bretton Woods Agreement. I don't think people know that. I know that because of your teaching and others, but most people do not know that. So could you maybe articulate or explain, Robert Kiyosaki, for our listeners out there, why do our listeners need to know that Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, those countries are hoarding the earth's gold and attempting to introduce a new reserve currency?
Because I think it was J.P. Morgan or somebody that said gold is money, the rest is credit or debt. And gold is the only money there is, according to that's in his theory. So that's why I tell the story of flying behind enemy lines. It's Gresham's law. We know what real money from fake money. But my greatest concern here is this: if we don't make changes in what we teach ourselves and our kids, the poverty in America is going to go through the roof, because we're now the biggest debtor nation in the world. And, like what they're teaching us now is DEI. What about teaching us money? And I don't think it's a mistake. That's my concern. It drives me on, because I love my country. 2 tours in Vietnam. But why does that school system not teach us anything about the truth about money? So gold is money. I call it God's money.
The BRICS nations, again, to repeat for everybody who's hearing this for the first time, you might hear about the BRICS nations. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, Africa. Those comprise roughly 41% of the Earth's population, and they are teaming up together to unseat the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. And now you have Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Nigeria, Venezuela, Algeria, Turkey, and Argentina all teaming up to unseat the U.S. dollar as the world's U.S.
You're on it, man. You're on it. Everybody, listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. You have the macro picture. Very few people have that point of view. And the Great Reset will be the collapse of the dollar.
Clay, you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. And as they say in Stoic, the obstacle is the way. And so if you let these pinheads get in your way, you're in trouble.
How concerned are you about the collapse of the U.S. dollar, sir?
It's the end of the dollar system. So the end is near for the US dollar. And my concern is it's going to wipe out stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. Just for my generation, the boomer generation, we're in serious trouble, because the only reason our stocks, bonds, mutual funds are up is because the Fed and the Treasury just kept printing more and more money.
So look, I've been in the financial industry since 9/11, the day before 9/11, and I've owned stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate, crypto, gold, you name it, I've owned it. But the one thing that's very important part of my portfolio all these years is gold. I love having a percentage of my net worth in gold that I have access to in case of many different things. A few facts you need to know about gold. Number one, the gold market cap is $11.8 trillion. Since 2000, the compound annual growth rate for gold has been 9.24%, and during times of high inflation, 3% plus, has been 15.35%. Now, those are just some numbers for you, but there's some other benefits to add gold to your portfolio. Number one, hedge against inflation. Number two, results showed recently that 93% of central banks are working on a CBDC. So this means what? That could be a manipulated currency that they own. If you own gold, it's a non-duplicatable asset. You're now hedging against CBDC taking place. Number three, a potential cyber threat. If it happens, you don't have access to your money, you don't have access to your accounts, where you have access to your hard physical gold. Number four is anonymous. No one knows you have that gold. And last but not least, diversification.
This here is real silver. It's about $35. Not that much. Everybody can afford $35. And this here is real gold. And we don't give investment advice, but right now I would do my best to get your head out of you know what, and stop working hard and saving this stuff here. This is fake. This is fake. This is real. And this is real. Good luck to you all. Start going for real money, not fake money. Thank you.
My name is General Mike Flynn, and I want everyone to know that I stand fully behind Beverly Hills Precious Metals and its owner, Andrew Sorcini, a great friend of mine. We are facing one of the greatest periods of financial uncertainty in American history, And now is the time to organize your finances, seriously consider how you can take care of yourself and your family, and start making some serious decisions.
I've spent years as a macroeconomic forecaster, and there's a really strong relationship between inflation and using gold as a hedge. And gold can be a really important part of your portfolio. It's not for day traders. It's not something you get in and get out of. But if you want it as part of the anchor of your portfolio, go to bh-pm.com, Beverly Hills Precious Metal. They will help out in terms of your needs. It's a big choice you have to make. Do your homework. But if you want gold, bh-pm.com is a great place to go.
Since my name is Cash, I am constantly worried about inflation. But to secure your cash going forward, buy into gold and silver today. And you know who shares that ethos? Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Go to bh-pm.com today so you can go buy gold and silver and secure your family's future. bh-pm.com. Call Beverly Hills Precious Metals, get your consultation, buy into gold and silver just like I'm doing today, and help secure your family's future. Because it's all about educating yourself. And that's the value, whether you go with Beverly Hills Precious Metals or not. It's a free consultation that gives your family options for financial security going into the future. So that's why you should call Beverly Hills PreciousMetals.com for a free consultation today.
So look, I've been in the financial industry since 9/11, the day before 9/11, and I've owned stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate, crypto, gold, you name it, I've owned it. But the one thing that's very important part of my portfolio all these years is gold. I love having a percentage of my net worth in gold that I have access to in case of many different things. A few facts you need to know about gold. Number one, the gold market cap is $11.8 trillion. Since 2000, the compound annual growth rate for gold has been 9.24%, and during times of high inflation, 3% plus, has been 15.35%. Now, those are just some numbers for you, but there's some other benefits to add gold to your portfolio. Number one, hedge against inflation. Number two, results showed recently that 93% of central banks are working on a CBDC. So this means what? That could be a manipulated currency that they own. If you own gold, it's a non-duplicatable asset. You're now hedging against CBDC taking place. Number three, a potential cyber threat. If it happens, you don't have access to your money, you don't have access to your accounts, where you have access to your hard physical gold. Number four is anonymous. No one knows you have that gold. And last but not least, diversification.
This here is real silver. It's about $35. Not that much. Everybody can afford $35. And this here is real gold. And I strongly, we don't give investment advice, but right now I would do my best to get your head out of you know what, and stop working hard and saving this stuff here. This is fake. This is fake. This is real. And this is real. Good luck to you all. Start going for real money, not fake money. Thank you.
My name is General Mike Flynn, and I want everyone to know that I stand fully behind Beverly Hills Precious Metals and its owner, Andrew Sorcini, a great friend of mine. We are facing one of the greatest periods of financial uncertainty in American history. And now is the time to organize your finances, seriously consider how you can take care of yourself and your family, and start making some serious decisions. Tell them that the General sent you. Thank you so much, and God bless America.